shows you raging right back there. What's going on, everyone? We're back. We're back here with
What's
Movie
up?
Dean.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Well, it's going well for me. How's it going for you?
I mean, life is going good.
Good.
Life is going good. It's just these dang Disney Plus shows, man.
Okay.
I've got some issues. I think we're doing like a little bit of counseling tonight. I don't know. Is this therapy? Is this therapy hour for me? Because I got a lot of thoughts.
It might be. Well, guys, if you are here, don't forget to leave a like on the video. Jump in that chat. Let us know what you think. We are going to be talking about all things episode 5 of Ahsoka. So if you've not gotten up to date on that, there's your warning. We were just talking about we want to make sure we're kind to you, and we don't want to give any spoilers, but we're going to be right jumping into it and going with the conversation. And straight from the we'll give you the tension at the front. Dean, did you like the episode?
No, I did not.
And I loved it. And I loved it. So
Oh.
we're gonna have a conversation tonight. Not a fight, but a conversation.
Who knows? Who knows where this is gonna go?
Yeah, well, here's all I have to say about your reaction to Ahsoka.
Sometimes I just don't understand human behavior.
Yeah, so I'm all over the place. Where are we? Here we're back.
We're here.
Yeah, this is a highly professionalized stream. Anyway, so I enjoyed the episode. I watched it again this evening before we got on, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I will say, in fairness, and I'll get into some of it eventually, but there are some things that I think you can be critical of, that it's not perfect. This is not a perfect episode. We should be able to call out what's not good. But I really want to hear some of your thoughts as to why you not only just didn't like it, but hated the episode. Because while we want to be fair to all Star Wars perspectives, anyone can hang out on this channel as long as you like Star Wars. You can dislike things that I like and vice versa. I don't care. And so we're going to give space for that. And I'd love to hear your perspective, because it is in the vast minority of what at least people are saying online. Now, I don't know if that's peer pressure or if that's just go with the flow, or people just so badly want to like Ahsoka that they have to like it. I don't know. But what were your issues? What were your problems? Because last week when we talked, we liked it. Episode 4 was solid.
Super positive about it.
And you might be able to convince me that episode 4 was better than 5. Right now, I see them pretty similar. So,
oh, really?
Give me some of your reasons.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, like, how do I not start off with space whales? I just can't. I can't get past it, Jeremy. I loved Rebels. I put out my reaction, and it's just like a little thing. And like, not very many people are watching it, but the people who are watching it are just like, oh, this guy, like he doesn't like Rebels. He never watched the cartoons. He's not a real fan. Like, I'm getting that kind of vibe from people. And just, no, I watched Rebels, and I thought like that the whole Purgle episode was one of the worst episodes of that entire thing. And then Dave Filoni was just like, you know what? I'm going to give you even more of them.
So now, which would have been better? A Purgle getting trapped in the hyperspace ring, or what we got?
You know what? I think I would have liked your idea better. Yeah, if they trapped it in the hyperspace thing. Like, at least that would have made a little bit more sense than just like, we're going full Pinocchio. Here we go. And like, as soon as Ahsoka looked up at that sky and was just like, oh, there they are. And I was just like, no, here we go. No, don't, please, no. I just think they're dumb. Like, they're goofy to me. Like, in it, like, for so long we've had so much going on in Star Wars about like, all right, technology that you need to go to hyper space, and like, you know, it's expensive to do that, and you need fuel for it. And I'm just like, all right, if these Purgles are just all over the place here, Like, why haven't we been using this the whole freaking time?
Yeah,
Like,
strap a Purgle to your Star Destroyer, and there you go.
right? Like, you're just good to go, or at least, I don't know. Like, it gave me. I know that there are comparisons out there. I was already talking about those comparisons in the last episode of Avatar: The Way of Water with the whales and
Yep.
everything, and
Yep.
it's just like, why weren't you just doing that then? Like, I just don't like them. I think it's a really dumb idea that these animals they have this ability and no one is like trying to, like, these hyperdrives are expensive. Like, that was the whole point of getting like these 6 or whatever they needed for the ring.
Mhm.
And like, if there are Purgles over there that you could just go and get and, do whatever to, like, why didn't they do that? Why didn't Emperor Palpatine do that? Why didn't
Mhm.
all these other evil people who would totally have done that kind of stuff to animals? Like, they just didn't do it. And it's just goofy looking. I just really don't like it. So like, that's something, but like, overall,
So I agree with you. I think the jumping into the mouth and riding in the mouth of a Purgle is pretty silly. In hindsight, I wish I don't have as massive a problem of the space whales. They just are, but your feelings are valid. They are kind of goofy. I wish they instead had thrown a tracker on the Purgle, let him go do their thing, and then find the coordinates that way, and say, hey, if we're
oh, that
gonna
would have been like 1,000 times better.
because
Yeah.
if we're gonna track these, so she still has to get close. She still has to get close to the Purgle. She still has to even maybe communicate to the Purgle, like, we need your help. You need to go and smack a Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer thing right on his nose, or toss it in his mouth at that point, and then get the coordinates that way. I think then you could have also had a situation where it's Hera and Ahsoka being like, let's go. And
Sure.
Hera's like, peace out, New Republic, which I think the New Republic is the dumbest part of this entire show for me. But
Yeah.
I'm still on that train. But yeah, so that would have been my switch. I didn't love the open up, here we go, kind of way it runs. It felt just a little too plot armor like, we needed a way to get you there, so we're just gonna make a Purgle do it, as opposed to
Yeah.
maybe make them think about it and figure out a way and go, could we track a Purgle? How would we do that? Could
It
we?
seems so much easier.
But
Like, like, come on. But also, it's just like I think, I don't know if I like Dave Filoni in live action. Like, I don't know.
oh,
Like, I love his stuff with Rebels, but I'm beginning to see where he just leaves so many things like open-ended. Like, he creates mystery and then either gives you like the most obvious conclusion to that mystery, in my opinion, or like just leaves it to where you're just like, I have no idea what that was about. And then like the Purgle part of it, I feel is just like, he just wanted it, and he wanted it to feel majestic, like the music was swelling, and you got Ahsoka the White, which apparently is a thing. I just like, it's a straight rip off of Lord of the Rings. Like, I'm not even a Lord of the Rings fan. And it's just like, you just copied. You basically did the exact same thing. And it's just like, why is she reborn? Well, because she was in the water for 10 hours and is still alive. Like, what is up with that? Like, okay, she has the Force, but we see like nothing. Like, even if there was like a Force bubble around her, I could get behind it. But she's just literally floating in the water, and she's like, I was expecting to find her on a rock,
yeah, like you said.
like just kind of like going like Little Mermaid, like Eric just basically hanging on there trying to survive. Like, I was expecting something like that, but yeah, basically. Uh, but she's just under the water, and she's been there all day, and it's
Yeah,
fine.
so,
Don't
so
worry
here,
about it.
here's my theory, because you're right. I think the fact that you've been in the water for that long, for an amount of time, it feels weird. My theory is, because of the way that everything was presented, Anakin pulled her into the world between worlds.
See, but
similar.
that's even my big, like, that's the thing with Filoni that I'm getting
We
like
don't
so
know.
worked up about, is like there's no answers. There's
Yeah.
no answers. You don't know. You have to speculate. And all of us are just like, well, like, and it's the big reveal of the last episode. Everyone tune into the next episode. We get Anakin in the world between worlds. How'd he get in there? You know, all that stuff. And it's not, you know, we don't know if it was in her head. We don't know if it was the world between worlds. We don't even get that much dialogue between the two. Like, for all the time that we spent, like, it was cool to see some of it, but we don't even understand really what the point of his lesson was other than survive, which is so generic to like all these other stories that do a similar thing of like, oh, you just need to keep on fighting, keep on holding on, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, if there was definitive proof in some way that it was Anakin who actually did it and it was physical, I could get behind it. Like, I wanted to like it, but I'm just getting so tired of it just being like, oh, so much excitement. Who is Merrick? You know, like, we're going to keep on name dropping him. Oh, well, he's just dust. No talk about what that was. You know, we'll never get an answer on that. And we'll never get an answer on the world between worlds. And we're probably never going to see Anakin again. Maybe Force Ghost at the very end of the series. But it's just like, I don't need everything spelled out for me. That's not what I'm saying. But
Sure.
I need a little bit.
Sure.
And when you're just so vague about everything and open-ended, and like goes back to like the Rebel stuff of like the wolf. You know, was that Kanan? Like, we'll never know. You know, what was all the stuff with the Jedi Temple there on Lothal? We'll never know. It's just so much mystery just for mystery's sake. And even the world between worlds, we still have no freaking idea what that's about. Like, we just like maybe went there, but we don't know what it is. Like, we don't know if like that's real or not. It's just, I'm getting tired of like being like, hey, get excited for this. And then just, it is what you think it is, you know, like no, I want to know what it actually is.
Yeah. In the true postmodern, the art is in the eye of the beholder, whatever you want it to be.
Basically.
It'll be. Yeah, I think that's fair. I disagree, but I think it's fair. I think that the mystery can be a problem. And the one note I wrote down that I was going to say to you, because I'm like, I think this might help, but your conclusion feels like you're saying, I'm upset because I know for certain I'm not going to get answers, because I look back at Clone Wars, I look back at Rebels, and there's these open-ended things left by Filoni that have no answers. To that, I will say, I believe by the end of the season, we will see Anakin again. I don't think they're going to bring him back just for that episode. I think they're going to do more, and I think it's going to shed more light on what's happened. Now, if I'm wrong, I will be disappointed, and I will say so, because I think you're right. We need more clarification for the world between worlds. You can't do something like this in live action and assume people to catch up on it even in the interviews. And I did that video bomb. No one watched it, but that's okay. Explaining the world between worlds. Dave Filoni, even in his own talking about it, is still super mysterious and even almost unsure what it is. He even says he leaves it up to your interpretation, which as a movie fan, I understand your pain and frustration, because you analyze movies, you analyze plots, you analyze those things. And so I think that's a fair criticism. I would say if we could watch all 8 episodes in one chunk, that might be a criticism that goes away a little bit, I think.
Oh, for sure.
If we get more.
Yeah.
But we're in this weekly episode, so you have to live in this unknown for another week, and it doesn't feel good. I get that.
I think we'll be living in this unknown forever. Like, I'm just looking at the track record, man, and he just never answers these things. And it's cool. Like, the world between worlds is cool. And the idea of being some way protected by the Force and given like a new life and all of that, she gets baptized, comes out of the water. Like, I could get behind this stuff if we just knew what it was, but we don't. We have no clue. And even, again, I don't need everything like in details. I don't need like, you remember like the old Star Wars books where it just break down the weapons and like show you how everything was made. I don't need that for the World Between Worlds, but I need at least some confirmation that this was real.
Yeah.
Like that it was at least maybe not physically real, but like spiritually real, and not just like, oh, you've been in the water all frickin' day, and so this is what your body did. And like that's like the most, like that's what I talked about last week. I was scared that that's what it was going to be, like that it was just going to be, oh, she's in a coma, and so she's having like this, like just thinking about these things. It bums me out, man.
Yeah, and that's fair. Now let me try to convince you otherwise.
All right.
Let me try and say, so here's what I loved about the episode, because for you and me, we both agreed one of our main criticisms about this was it's a show about Ahsoka and it feels like it's a show about everybody else. This episode was about Ahsoka. And
yeah, it was.
Really, this was the culmination of the first 4 episodes. And while we can look at the Ahsoka the White thing and say, oh, this kind of does feel like a Gandalf, I'm going to give you a different understanding that I think while it might be borrowing some from imagery, it's borrowing more from the hero's journey than I think necessarily it is borrowing from the Lord of the Rings, which the Lord of the Rings is borrowing from that hero's journey tale as well, in some ways, but it's also just kind of a story arc that is often found in many places. But yes, the white robes from Gray.
It could have been any color, man.
It could have been, but
they could have picked something else.
They could have, but because of what happened in Rebels, and because of the way it was done in Rebels, and because of the Mortis gods and the way that Ahsoka's already been brought to life once, and the embodiment of the light, because she is now basically the essence of the daughter. Without explaining all of that, they patched white robes on. So here's why I think the white works. The main criticism that I saw a lot of people giving of the first 4 episodes was, where's the emotion in this show? Everyone is just flat-faced. No one cares. Everyone's doing this. Closed off emotions. Ahsoka doesn't seem excited. She seems distant. She seems like she doesn't want to even talk to Sabine or Hera or anyone. And I think you got these closed off emotions of Ahsoka the Gray, for lack of a better term. Her emotions were gray. Her attitude was gray. She didn't really want to go see Sabine. She had to be convinced by Hera. She didn't really want to train Sabine. Huyang even kind of had to be part of that process. And so I think that you then now have a switch. She comes up out of the water and the music shifts, the attitude shifts. Even go back to that scene and look at the lighting and the music in that scene, laying in her bed, the way that the light is shining on her, the music,
everything is softer.
She doesn't even have her headband on. Like, everything is a little different. And then you watch her demeanor the rest of the episode. It's jovial, like she's out there hugging Jason. She's a positive attitude, even like looking to the sky positively. She's goofing around and knocking on the glass to talk to Huyang. Like, she's going up to the whales. Everything feels lighter. Like, and so it comes back to, I think when you look at the story arc telling, I think what just happened was we got something deep that happened in this episode, even if we don't fully understand it. And I think that's a fair criticism to say. We don't fully understand it, right? That's a fair criticism. But I think what just happened is, in some way, that interaction between her and Anakin showed a completion, not just of training, but now of attitude, of perspective, of outlook. And you get to the very, very end of the episode. And here was the back and forth conversation. I wrote it down because I wanted to say it. They're in the mouth. They're ready to Pinocchio this thing all the way to the other galaxy. And Huyang says to Ahsoka, "You're certain they know where Sabine was taken?" And she says, "I have no idea. Let's see where this goes."
Yeah.
Huyang says, "It could go anywhere." And Ahsoka says, "That's better than nowhere." Contrast that to the Ahsoka who was talking to Sabine right before that battle with Balin, and she's like, we got to destroy this thing. We just got to make sure. I don't care about Ezra. She didn't say
Whatever
that.
it takes. Yeah.
Whatever it takes, just destroy it. And now she's like carefree. Let's go. And it might not even get us to Ezra, but it's better than nothing.
With a huge smile on her face.
And so the people that were dogging on Rosaria have to at least come back and say, okay, she was directed to act that way. Let's at least call that what it was. That wasn't a poor acting performance by Rosaria, just like many people gave Hayden Christensen crap for the prequels, right? I think he was directed to act that way. And so in the same way, I think that story arc has got me excited because now I see a big leap in progression in the character of Ahsoka, and that has me excited. Now, do I have answers? No. And so I think, again, that's a fair criticism, but I think that story arc took a big shift this episode, and now I'm very interested to see how Ahsoka will interact differently with Balin, will interact differently with Thrawn, will interact differently with Sabine. Yeah. I think everything is going to be a little bit different than what we've seen from Ahsoka.
I agree. Like you could tell, like she's totally different, and that's cool. But also, like we weren't even told that she was different at the beginning. Like that's the problem. It wasn't Rosario Dawson's acting.
Yeah.
Like it was the writing. Like there was no one around to be like, oh, she's not like the way that you might remember her. No one says anything like that. They're just like, Ahsoka's this way. Like, so we as viewers are just left to wonder, like, wait, I thought she was like a lot happier, like a little sarcastic. And like even in Rebels, we saw a happier, more sarcastic version, even if she was, a little bit more grown up than in the Clone Wars. Yeah. But like, that's a problem of writing, of just not having any kind of, I don't know, just giving us clues to help us understand that she's going through something. Like we get little moments where she, just long pauses of her face, but we get zero dialogue that really shows like she's struggling within herself, not just struggling with Sabine. Like they did that. They showed us that there was like that conflict, but nothing of like why that conflict is so like impactful for Ahsoka's character. And then, getting over it now. I'm cool with that. But also in the world between worlds, they don't even really discuss like what the lesson is, like how she got to that new place of thinking other than she wants to live. Like there's stuff about like, okay, well, she's in the war and she's dealing with, being a leader, and how does she fit into this lineage? And, she was like, she wanted to be a peacekeeper and she wasn't allowed to be a peacekeeper. But like, there's nothing about what she's been struggling with, because we don't know anything about her struggle, and there's no dialogue that tells us what she was currently struggling with.
Yeah, the dialogue doesn't. I think the poetry of Star Wars does. And I don't think that that's fair to all Star Wars fans to leave it that way, but I saw a massive parallel between the journey of Luke and the journey of Ahsoka. And I think we get led into that by hints, but nothing substantial or nothing concrete. And I'll give you the reason I think that. So Ahsoka and Anakin, who I believe this isn't just a vision. I believe this is Anakin who pulled her into the world between worlds, mainly because I like that version best, and that's the version I'm going with.
Yeah, it's cooler.
it's cooler than just fake Anakin. Because I didn't even necessarily. I know I peddled the theory out of my channel of it being the sun. I really didn't want it to be the case, but I thought it was at least possible. But in this, at the very beginning of their battle, once Anakin, which it is confusing why he's fighting her, but I think it makes sense at the end, in my opinion. He starts fighting, and it's this same exact moment that Vader and Luke have, where Luke responds to Vader saying, "I'm not going to fight you." Because that's what Ahsoka says. And what did Anakin respond with? "I've heard that before." That was his response.
Baller line.
It is a baller line, and I'm hoping in my mind, again, we don't know, that would have been an awesome, like, you just hear the voice of Mark Hamill in the distance, right? Like echoing, like to make that connection a little bit maybe more firm for us that that's what he was referencing. But with that connection, and then the way that that whole sequence went through, it showed a progression of Ahsoka through these flashbacks of Clone Wars, some of which were things that her and Anakin did together, some of which were all just her that Anakin was brought into, which is another clue for me, which makes it feel like it's not just a vision of Anakin, but Anakin himself, because it was all Ahsoka's knowledge, but he was still present there, even though he wasn't originally there. But maybe it was still a vision. But either way, we see green lightsaber, baby Ahsoka, to the dueling double blue sabers where they have some battles, and then eventually back to the white sabers when all of the scenes go through. And in that final scene between Ahsoka and Anakin, Ahsoka has Anakin dead to rights, and she chooses not to kill him. What did Luke do in Dagobah? He sliced off Vader's head. And so I see this moment and growth in Ahsoka of she is the pure embodiment of the light, that she did not give over into this battle, that even though she was being pushed and prodded to fight, she still chose what was right. And it feels like the final test from Anakin is, are you going to give over to the dark side like I did? Because they have that back and forth conversation in the flashback of, you're part of this legacy. And she's like saying this idea of like, but I know what you become kind of idea. Like, you are evil. You're going to go do these things. I don't want that to be me. All I know to do is fight. And by the time we get to the very end of it, we realize, no, Ahsoka, you're not going to be like Anakin. You are not going to fall into that dark side trap that he did. And then that's why it then cuts, I think, to him smiling immediately. And
not immediately. Oh man.
I mean, it took a second, but yeah,
it took like 30. Like they just had shot on him, and he just looks down, and it's like, okay, you want to like take a moment, but you're just like staring at him for like 10 seconds as he's looking at the floor. And then he comes up and he's like, like, I think you're
not
gonna
immediately,
make it, kid, wink. And it's just like, come on, like the pacing. I am really nervous for a Filoni movie. I think he has really cool ideas.
Sure.
But I'm just getting real nervous with pacing, with shots that he uses. There was a shot of Hu Yang as he goes to the ghost, where you can like totally see his costume is like not wires. Like, it's just like,
I missed that. I'll have to go back
past everybody.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look at that.
It's I don't know, man. I love what you're saying, but it's all reading into
that's fair.
What is there, and it's not clearly presented to us. Like, even you're like, oh, she's the embodiment of the light, and I hear this so often with other Star Wars fans, like the whole like the Mortis stuff. Like, we haven't gotten anything like that. No references in live action. So like everyone's like, oh, she's the embodiment of the light. I've heard that so often. It's just like, why? We haven't been told that.
Yeah.
Like, we've got nothing to show that. Everyone is just kind of looking at this, and it's just everyone reading in their own feelings, their own story to it, which is part of storytelling. But at the same time, it can't just be all of that. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think I have not loved how much it relies on Rebels, especially even when there was a quote from Dave Filoni, and I had a video on this earlier, where I do feel like Dave Filoni kind of misled us in saying that you don't need to watch Rebels. Like, oh, no, you kind of do.
Yeah.
You really need to watch season 4, especially. And he did say that, but he still said, oh, you don't really need any of it. But it's like, no, you do. Because these conclusions I'm coming to are because I've watched all this stuff. So I think that that's true. In hindsight, I wish they had like shown an owl flying somewhere.
For real.
Right?
That would have helped.
especially in the world between worlds, because it would have connected that this is the world between worlds. This is connected to that in that way. And even though
Or
it would have been
even
an Easter
gateways.
egg.
They didn't even walk past any of the gateways. When Ezra was walking
That's
around,
true.
there were tons of different portals.
Yeah, you just see the ones off in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. I think that it could have been handled a little bit differently. My fear, now that you say it, I do wonder if we will get a world between worlds again or not. Will it be a world between worlds in Ezra and Sabine moment again? Maybe. Maybe is this something that she's going to be able to use now, and we'll see that was part of her training. I don't know. I will say the main thing that really bugs me is the fact that she can hear the Force echoes.
Okay.
That the psychometry. I'll read this quote here. This is what it says on the Force Wiki, whatever you want to call it. Psychometry is not a power that can be achieved through careful cultivation, as only those who are born with the power could use. Not until this show has she been able to use psychometry. So the fact that she can stand there and re-listen to the whole thing between Baylan and Sabine, I mean, she's pulling the full Cal Kestis from Jedi Survivor and whatnot, and it's a plot device more than it is a character development, and that bugs me. It's stuff like that I'm willing to say, you know what, it shouldn't be there. They should have found another way, other than giving her a Force power that you can't just say, oh, she unlocked it. No, they're clearly saying, and they say in other places, that it's something you're born with. It's not something that you can learn, like other things that can be learned. So
and I think that's just because Filoni wants to superpower her. Like wants to, like, yes, it's a plot device, but I think it's also that he just wants to make like these characters that he loves like be awesome. And I get it, but also like you're doing things with these characters and putting them into situations that are just kind of nuts, and then just being like, well, it's left up to the viewer with all this. I don't know. I feel like Filoni is a little bit out of control with his love for these characters. Like, is even having all of these characters in the show called Ahsoka. Like, we just continue to have Hera. Hera was huge in this episode. Like, I thought we were leaving her behind. And she just
maybe
continues
now
to be a huge part. Chopper, and I love the Jason stuff. That was probably my favorite stuff of this episode.
I knew it would be,
but
yeah.
It just, I don't know what they're doing here still, other than being like, oh, she's in the water over there.
I will say it was a great moment as Carson Teva is questioning why they're listening to Jason, and Huang is like, oh, he's the son of a Jedi, and he just goes, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that's hilarious. I thought that moment.
Well, we did get the finally the name drop too. That was Kanan
Jarrus. Yeah, which I think is important. But it leads me to my next thing that really bugged me is, the New Republic is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, why do you deny a mission to send a few X-Wings and the Ghost? Like, why do you deny that mission because you can't spare the ships or spare the time or the money or whatever it was, yet you send 3 capital ships to go get a few X-Wings and the Ghost? Stupid. Absolutely stupid.
For real, man. That is some real talk. Just like, why? Well, and also, like, this is peacetime. So, like, okay, like, you don't have these X-Wings going and doing like something, like they're not like meant to be over here and lives are being lost or something.
No,
it's
you
just
see
fuel.
Teva in Mandalorian just flying random places.
Yeah, he's just checking out caves, like he's just doing a little bit of exploring.
I think the only reason they were there is to get the scene with the Purgle. I think it's the only reason they were there, to get a scale version so you can see from their perspective, more awe. So I don't think they had any purpose. I do like that we got the Senator Organa name drop. I thought that was done smoothly. I thought that things like that done very well. I thought were great. I love the I actually don't even mind the tension between Hera and the New Republic. If they're going to play that up, play that up. But you could have done all of that without the ships there. You could have brought the threat of the court-martialing, the threat of bringing back that you and Ahsoka have to come back and answer for these crimes. And if Ahsoka's not there to defend you, you're going to be up the creek without a paddle. I think that's fair, but I don't see why they had to send all the ships.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense other than showing like these whales be huge, yo.
Yeah. I mean, I could see sending one. You can make a case for sending one. Why? Because you're going to need the Ghost and the X-Wings to be docked somewhere so that they can't fly off somewhere else. Okay, fine.
Sure.
But 3? What are you going to do with 3 that you can't do with 1? Are you really going to turbo blast them out of the sky? Like, is that what's happening right here? You're going to shoot down Hera. Really? No, no one's going to be doing that. New Republic is dumb. I don't understand. I mean, I get them being...
man. They are ripe for Thrawn coming and wrecking shop, man. Like, if that's the way they're going to go, it seems like we got a lot of the main characters now over in that universe. So it's just like, are we just going to be sticking around there? Like,
well, we don't know. The Purgle might not go there.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, please, Lord.
Who knows where these Purgles are going to show up? All right, here's just like a crazy thing.
Okay.
All right, Jason said, the line, like they're taking like they did with Ezra to a galaxy far, far away. Are the Purgle and now Thrawn, like, is that our universe? Like, because we're the galaxy far away. Like,
man, I really hope not.
We're going to see Earth. We're going to see Earth, guys. And it's just going to be Purgles flying everywhere.
It's going to be Purgles, and then somewhere Thor is going to make an appearance, and it's going to be a mashing together of Star Wars and Marvel for the ultimate Avengers assemble against Thrawn. Thrawn will now be the big bad in Marvel.
Come and do it. It's going to be great.
No. That's interesting. I will say though that while I know you're being kind of goofy and crazy, what wasn't it Hera that just said one far when she said she couldn't take Jason with her because it was a far away galaxy, or did she say far far?
I don't think she said far far, but Jason did. He was explaining like the story.
Yeah,
I'm paying attention to what Jason's saying. I don't care what anyone else is talking about anymore. We're not getting answers from anybody else except Jason.
You want the Jason show.
I kind of do at this point. This kid's awesome.
Yeah, I love the idea of the kid of a Jedi, particularly of Kanan. Now, again, I think that everything she learned from Anakin, she could have already learned from the sacrifice of Kanan. Right?
Yeah. So, and all right, like the getting back to, is that Anakin? Is it something else? All right, the title, Shadow Warrior. Like, usually that means a decoy. Like Kurosawa did it, and George Lucas obviously getting a lot of influences from him. I think that's a pretty big hole in this is really Anakin, because he calls him a Shadow Warrior, which is usually that it's a decoy fighter. And there's that. So again, just like all these kind of things that make you go like, I don't know what you were actually meaning with some of this stuff. But yeah.
On the positive, I will say the de-aging and CGI of this episode, I think, were on point. I think the way that Hayden looked, comparative to the way that the young, weird CGI Hayden looked, even at the very end of this episode, they went back to So it was clear like it was an intentional decision. It wasn't like it was a mistake and they fixed it before the theatrical release. But I also think that means they put more money into this episode than they did if we saw an episode breakdown of a budgeted line items. I bet they put more money into this because I think that, like with Ahsoka's lightsabers, we saw the growth and changing of how Anakin looked throughout those scenes. And I think they paid very close attention to how that looked. I think
that armor looked great. Like
mm-hmm.
the Clone Wars armor. Like he looked so cool.
I think the flashing between him and Vader, like just aesthetically, I think that was fantastic. So I think the aesthetics of what we got. I also think the lightsaber duels of what we got may not have been on par with what we have seen in like movie Star Wars, particularly if you go back to the prequels, some of those duels. But I think this was pretty darn good.
Yeah. The only thing is it comes right after the Balin one, which was just so dang awesome.
Yeah, he was
like that Balin Ahsoka fight. Like mostly it's because of Ray Stevenson. It's not really because of like the visual effects or anything crazy.
Sure, choreography.
But it just looks so good. I will say, like, I was disappointed to see so much dang fog in this thing. Like, I get it. Like, they're kind of evoking like the Clone Wars, like the actual movie Clone Wars, with like having the clones come in, and like there was a lot of dust and fog going on in those scenes. So maybe they were evoking that, but it just really felt like they were hiding, like hiding the scope of this thing, and that it's not really like a big battle sequence. So we get 10 guys instead of getting 100, you know, like, and we get like shadows of vehicles instead of actually showing them. So just like budget stuff that makes it feel really small. And it's like,
on the big
I get
screen,
why they do it.
Yeah.
But they showed it. Like they decided to go here. So you got to make it look cool. And I get that it was also like kind of a traveling effect of like going into the fog to enter into a different phase of life. I get it. It's just like with the battle sequences, it would have been so much cooler to actually see a battle sequence rather than like advance into like the unknown stuff. Like if you're going to show us that kind of stuff, then show us that kind of stuff.
Yeah, not one Roger.
Yeah.
Not one. I just want to see a head roll somewhere. Come on. Like,
yeah. There's a lot of blaster fire.
A lot of blaster fire. And I know you said this on the video you released. What were your feelings of, well, and this is also where in your comment section, I think someone was trying to mansplain to you, which I thought was hilarious, about young Ahsoka in the battle scenes and your thoughts of that. What were some of your thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably just a me thing, but it was just kind of, it was not just like unnerving to see a child in war, but it was just kind of gross to me. And I think that might have been Dave Filoni's point in showing like this kid never had a chance to be anything different. But it's like kind of reminds me of like movies like Blue Beetle just did this, where they show a person, like a kid turned into a soldier, you know, like a child soldier. It's just really gross. And then to see it like, oh, look how fast she can like, you know, use her lightsabers in the next scene and stuff. It was just kind of gross to me. Like I get why, like it's kind of cool to see younger Ahsoka, but also like I know this kind of isn't where you're going with it, but I'm really confused on like who Ahsoka is too in this world between worlds, because one moment she's obviously aware like that this is a memory, like, oh, why are we in the Clone Wars, you know? And then like on Mandalore, like the Siege of Mandalore, she explains like, oh yeah, we had parted ways. But then there's that middle scene where, you know, cute, she's, you know, holding her hand, the hand of a fallen clone, but like then she's having like this discussion, and it seems like it's a discussion that was actually like the kid having with Anakin at that time, rather than Anakin and like the Shadow Warrior Anakin and, older Ahsoka having a
Sure.
conversation just in those forms. And so I was like, what is going on? Like, does she know that she's like, did she get like deluded with being around this, that she just kind of fell back into that mind frame again? Just like no explanations. But like, I think it was kind of cool to see like the clone stuff. I love seeing Rex. Like, that was really awesome. I love
I was
that.
annoyed. I wanted a moment with Rex and his helmet off.
Yeah.
Like I like, if you're going to do a cameo of Rex, like, I actually thought it was kind of a cheap shot, or at
It's an
least,
easy one for sure.
yeah, like, I know we can recognize Rex because of his armor, but at least let Ahsoka, like, and him have a moment, or
Yeah.
or recognition. Like, what I would have really liked in that scene where her hand was on the trooper is that be Rex coming up to her
That's what I thought it
and
was.
consoling her. But it was kind of like, it shows that the care and the I like that it shows the care she had for the clones, right? That there was a relationship here, that many of the Jedi had with the clone troopers. They weren't just expendable, even though for Anakin, it's push forward. It doesn't matter. Push forward, live or die. It's up to you. Or fight or die, or whatever it was. So yeah, I do think that it was a weird conversation. I think that we didn't get enough clarity. I think those are good points. I think the nature of TV made it so that we couldn't see as much as we wanted to, but help us out. Show us it's Ryloth a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, make the trees just a little bit more visible. I know we saw the Twi'leks that were there. I liked that. I liked that we saw some of those Clone War era tanks, but do it just a little bit clearer, or at least in some way shift it. Even make it, they could have done it so that it felt more from Ahsoka's perspective. Like, I wish they had done some camera angles in that way. Like,
Yeah.
think to Andor, and the way that Andor did crazy camera angles to really make you feel something, like the terror of a TIE fighter shooting overhead. Like, I think they could have done something like that. I will give them credit. There was zero shaky cam. We had a war scene, and it wasn't like the Obi-Wan shaky cam. Like,
That's a good point. Yeah.
so I'll at least give a credit there, but I would have loved maybe like a few more from Ahsoka's perspective, especially when she was young, like to feel like, and I think that would have changed the sense of, man, it's 10 guys running past me versus like you get a camera angle of just troopers, right?
Yeah.
Going.
Yeah, kind of do like John Boyega in Force Awakens, like that opening scene of
Yep.
Kylo and everything going on at the beginning.
Yeah.
It could have been something like that, just like that kind of like the war is crazy, and it's so disorienting. Yeah, it would have been cool to see something like that.
One, and so I think that the unknownness of all of this is a fair point. I think as a person on YouTube who gets to talk about Star Wars, I like that I get to go into the unknown.
Sure, you got content for days, man.
But to the average fan, to my brother who hasn't yet watched the Ahsoka series, but is getting to some friends that I know are finishing up Rebels before they jump into Ahsoka. For those folks, this is going to feel even more like, if the episodes keep going this way, where you're relying more and more on Rebel stuff or unknown things, like you ask 10 Star Wars fans who the gods of Mortis are, how many do you actually think have any idea who that is? Yeah. That was in an animated TV show. So,
and how many are going to accept it even if they do explain it? Like, that stuff is nuts.
And what if they're not even doing that?
Yeah.
We don't know. Yeah, it's well, I would love to hear from some of you guys that are watching. We got 5 of you watching, only 1 like. Come on, hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. And let us know what you think in the comments. Would love to hear some of your thoughts and opinions. Were there any things that we missed that you thought were really interesting? I got a few more things down here that I thought were good. Especially, and this is the one I'll say, I really liked the line at the end. Hera saying to Ahsoka over the comms, "May the Force be with you," and then it cuts out. It's things like that that I think the attention to detail that Filoni gets really well, while at the same time I think there are some things, like you've pointed out, the mystery feels too mysterious, or too abounding in mystery. But I will
least
say,
if they're going to leave it that way. Like, I'm good with mystery.
Yeah,
if we're going
true.
to have some answers. And I've just learned from Filoni, watching him all these years. Like I watched Clone Wars. I watched Rebels.
Sure,
I've seen a
sure.
lot of Rebels more than once. Like, there's a lot of Rebels that I love, but I've just learned, like, we just don't get those answers to the mystical stuff. And he views that as being like, like part of I'm sure, like, the enchantment of like that stuff. And I just go, I need something.
Sure.
So,
Now, this is incomplete. Ahsoka's not finished yet, so it's an incomplete analysis. Out of the Disney Plus shows, if you had to choose what shows you would watch again or like to watch, or where does Ahsoka rank? If you were to give a ranking, it's not hard and fast. Your mind and opinions can change later if Ahsoka gets better or worse. But in terms of where some of these other Disney Plus shows have done that didn't involve Dave Filoni, I mean, he might have dabbled in Mandalorian, we think, but we don't know how much input he actually had, versus the executive changes that might have come. Where does this show, with its warts and bruises and beautiful moments and all, where does it fit right now in the Disney era TV shows for you?
well, it's hard because, like, there are, like, I know I come across as harsh on this episode and Filoni in general right now, but there are a lot of things that I love about it. Like, again, like when I said, like, the Jason stuff I really enjoyed, I mean, like, I loved it. I love seeing Jason use the Force and get the references. Kanan is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. And so, like, I love all that kind of stuff. But, I do have some really big issues with the overall story and mostly the writing and some of the directing too. Not the acting, not the visual effects, like none of that kind of stuff. So, like, there's awesome stuff in this series and stuff that I think was, like, really lacking in Obi-Wan, like some creative decisions. So, like, Andor is at the top still for me. That show
I would
is just
agree.
dang perfect.
I'd agree.
Like, I wouldn't change anything. Like, it's some of, like, the most, like, it just feels like Star Wars. It just really feels like Star Wars. And, like, honestly, Ahsoka just feels like Rebels. Like, it feels like, and if that's Star Wars to you, like, that's like some of the big stuff that you love, like, then I'm sure, like, you are just over the moon about this series. For me, like, I do love it, but I need more, I don't know, grittiness. I need to see more of the conflict. So when they focus on the villains, I'm more inclined to, like, really be into what they're showing me in Ahsoka. So I would say Andor's on top. Probably I would put probably Mando second. Like, I know season 3 had a lot of weak spots. I'm looking at that Jack Black episode, man. I love Jack Black, but that episode just sucked. And Christopher Lloyd, like, so weird. Such a weird episode.
Yes.
But seasons 1 and 2, I loved. And it's very different, episodic, not like a grand, huge
Sure.
idea of a show. And then I'd probably put Ahsoka in third. And then what else do we got? We got Obi-Wan and Boba Fett. Is there anything else?
Just others that have been announced. I mean, if we're not counting animated things like Tales of the Jedi and
Boba Fett
like
is all the way on the bottom.
I would agree.
Way far down there, except for that one episode that we got Luke Skywalker, and it was everything I ever hoped and dreamed it would be.
Yeah, but even that is like, oh, I thought, yeah, that was Boba Fett, not Mandalorian, right? Like that one episode almost feels like it belonged in Mandalorian, not in Boba
Like,
Fett.
I feel like, can we take it? Because then we
Yeah.
can shove Boba Fett even further down.
Yeah, Boba Fett minus the episode at the bottom. Yeah, I'm similar. I think I would put Ahsoka right now for me is starting to beat out Mandalorian. Because I think of where it's going. And so I'm giving credit in that too. I see where it's gone, and I'm a huge Thrawn fan.
Yeah.
But this thing could all fumble if they fumble this. Like, so I think the entire show hinges on these next 6, 7, 8. We got 3 episodes.
There's not much time, dude.
I
At the
want a
very
2-hour
like, you got to
episode.
feel good though that we're over there now. Like, at
better
least
be.
there's that. We got everyone who is going over, I think, is over there. So
Yep.
now we're gonna get like, all right, now can we see Thrawn? Like, he's gonna be there.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get yes. And so while we didn't get anything from them this episode, I think it would have felt out of place if they had tried to fit in. Here's what they're doing too, into it. But yeah, we're over there. I think that everything will be in the rear view mirror. I think there will be some big cliffhanger at the end of these next few episodes, which will leave us asking more questions. But when it comes down to it,
cliffhanger, I think, like, is Thrawn just gonna like blow up a planet or something? Like, what, who, and what?
If I'm writing this, I'm not saying this is what happened, but this is probably what I would do. I would make it in such a way that one of the crew dies. Like, I would kill somebody by the end of the show. I would kill somebody because I think no one's expecting that. I'm not sure who it would be.
Like a betrayal, like
either by a betrayal
losing
or
in a fight to Sabine,
or like they find Ezra and then Ezra dies. Like, I feel like that could be heart-wrenching. And
if that happens, I'm done, man. Oh, are you serious? Like, I got a 10-year-old who like this entire series, all he wants to do is see Ezra. Like, if they're like, hey, we found him, and like, it's like kind of like the Rey Kylo like kiss, and then just immediately dies. No, I will riot. I will be a one-man riot.
A one-man riot. It'll solidify, and maybe not that, but I would do something. I would do something shocking. Like, okay. I would do something that has to be shocking, that almost feels somewhat out of character, because the thing that frustrates me a lot of times in Star Wars is we don't let a character die and they just keep coming back. And I don't think they're going to let Ahsoka die. I think they're going to try to ride Ahsoka into,
well, now for sure,
other things. And even if she did get stabbed, we'd be like, oh, she can't die. Is it going to be Sabine giving her life to save Ahsoka and Ezra? Oh, see, JB's here, and he says Ahsoka's a goner, in my opinion.
Not according to all the Star Wars fans that think she's a goddess. She can't die, according to them.
So here's where I think, if the plans aren't from Disney to do a second season on Ahsoka, I could see a scenario where she pulls a Kanan Jarrus to save everybody and she dies. And Ezra goes back. She dies. Not Mysterious, actually dies. I could see a scenario of that. But I really...
Cool. I'm down for sacrifice. Like, that's cool.
Right? And that's what she's learned from Anakin. Like, you could do another Force Ghost appearance or something like that with Anakin that is like preparing her to stay that course. Because I think that that's what's been set up here in some way is, hey, you don't give up, you keep fighting. And so what does that mean? I don't know. But I think for me, I would have one of these beloved characters, and for the sake of your son, we won't have it be Ezra.
Better not
but
be.
but I
We'll
think
be a
something.
2-man riot.
And then here's what Jim says, and it says, and then she goes to be with Anakin in the end.
I would love that. If it was like Ahsoka sacrificing herself and then ends up in whatever the world between worlds or whatever the heck that is, and it's just, Anakin putting his arm
'Cause
around
he
and them
did
just
say-
walking into the distance.
He did say, "I didn't expect you so soon."
True. I would love that. That sounds beautiful. I'll cry.
And that would be a beautiful ending, right? I don't know how we'll get there. I'm expecting some craziness. I'm expecting some betrayal. I'm expecting something. I'm still unsure how they're going to tell all of this story in the time that's left, because not only do we have to get there, you have to find them. How are you going to do that in a galaxy? 2, are Thrawn and Ezra in the same physical location? Really? Like, I think they...
Okay.
So-
Well, we got 2 different people, right? All right. And we have 2 stated goals.
One,
One stated goal is to go and get Thrawn, and Ahsoka said, like, we're going to go get Ezra. So maybe now we've got, 2 different locations with 2 different search parties. And, maybe, yeah, that sounds cool. But yeah, I think we're running out of time, man. Like this whole story, I feel like for the last 2 episodes, like there was cool moments, obviously, but like we're at this spot now where things have to happen so fast, and I haven't seen anything that leads me to believe that's actually going to be the case. Like it could be, but everything is dragged. Like, and some of it has been really cool, but like it has dragged as far as like where we're going, when we're going to get there, and all that. Not much has actually happened. So I think that we're going to get a lot of cliffhangers with that ending. And I don't think it's going to go nearly as far as a lot of us wanted it to be.
If it ends with the scene of Thrawn that we got from the trailer, if that's how this season ends, I'm going to be pissed.
Now you got a different one, man, right?
I will riot, because if they've built Thrawn to be the bad and then all we get is... I fully expect Thrawn in this next episode, or at least I'm hoping Thrawn in this next episode, because we just got all this Ahsoka stuff. We have to catch back up with Baylan and Morgan, and yeah, give us them flying in the whale through hyperspace. Okay, fine. But I think what is it going to, are they going to be like X-rays? Can they see through the skin? I don't know.
Dude, the next episode is just gonna be Ahsoka and Hu Yang like playing cards.
No,
just waiting to get over there.
She's cleaning her lightsabers.
Yeah,
with a big grin on her face because she's Ahsoka the White.
I'll talk to the whale. Also, what's the deal with Hu Yang not wanting to train, Jason? What the heck? There's only so many people who could even train as a Jedi. And he's just like, nope.
That'd be some Dragon Ball Z stuff. So I think that's a foreshadowing. I think that moment's a foreshadowing, because he asked about the lightsaber and how to build one as well. I think that's a foreshadowing. I think there will be something where if it's Ahsoka that dies, it's Ezra that comes back to train Jason.
Oh my goodness. I would love that so much.
Yeah, I just said it. He said it. We're on the same page.
That would be amazing. I want that real bad.
And you get a final scene of Ahsoka basically, and then it's Ahsoka and Sabine kind of carrying the torch as platonic friends. I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I still like, are we going to focus? Like, we got so much to wrestle with, man. Like, we even got like Sabine and the Force still. Like, that's just going to be an open-ended thing. Like, does she have the Force? How much Force does she have? Will she find inner balance to be able to use the Force? Like,
Yeah.
we got that. We got, obviously, like, Ezra's out there. We got Thrawn to find. We got to figure out what Thrawn's plan is. We kind of feel like Balin and Shin are about to have a showdown. Like,
With
it's
Morgan.
it's a lot.
Are we ever
I
going to
don't know
know
if we're
what the
going to deal
green
with that
mist that
much.
popped out of Merrick's stomach is going to be? Are we ever going to know?
Never. We're never going to find out. Like, I don't know, Pablo Hidalgo will come out of nowhere and just give us like one tweet just to mess with us all.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the pacing is just going to be furious. Like, and I'm not actually mad if that's the case. If we just get like bombarded now that the story picks up because we've gotten there. I think it has to, but my fear will be that the dialogue doesn't carry the weight of what we need to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the MO of the show. Like, oh man. Like, I just think after last episode, I know we've talked it to death, but after last episode, we never really got Anakin and, grown Ahsoka having like a real conversation about like what he did, how he became what he became.
Yep.
It's all just like these metaphors and like one-liners, and it's just I don't know. I need more people sitting and having an actual conversation. We got that quite a bit in like the original trilogy.
Well, we got it in the first
in the
few,
original trilogy. It's just Star Wars.
That's true.
Like, you were trapped, like waiting for something. You're waiting to get to a place, and you're having conversations. Like, Star Wars has a lot of exposition in it, and we've gotten like none. In just like one-liners. I wish we would have just had, like, what you been up to? Just catching up.
Yeah, I think that's what this was meant to scratch that itch. I think the confronting Vader, the veiled line of "I'm in your legacy." What does that mean? Like, I think that's what this was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I think everyone, again, I think you can love this and still be not fully satisfied. Let's be clear. Like, I think we as Star Wars fans have to have nuance, right? It's shocking. Maybe we can have some nuance in Star Wars fandom and not just be rage monsters. But yeah, the thumbnail. You're here for the rage monster. He's right here. That side. And so I think that the nuance can be that I still was wondering how they were actually going to do that type of conversation. And the only other thing I can think of is that there's going to be a moment where Ahsoka gets pulled back into the world between worlds in the next few episodes. And
I would love it.
And I think that would be helpful, because then it would also do two things. It would help us understand a little bit more, maybe, as well as give us some of what we do. But at the same time, that's adding another thing to the list of stuff that has to happen. And it's feeling like a lot.
Yeah, and we got the whale belly episode coming up. So
nah. When she dies, dun dun dun. Yeah, they have it. They have that conversation when she dies. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I kind of do think that's what's going to happen the more that I think about it. And why there's not necessarily concrete evidence about an Ahsoka 2. Right now. So they're using.
So are you still excited to speculate? Like, cuz like we started this show with so much of like, who's that? What is their plan? Where are they going? All that kind of stuff. We are now going into episode 6, closing it up. Are you still like, oh, there's so much like theories that you can come up with, and is it exciting, or are you just kind of like, they better come to a conclusion about this one? Or
well, so I think the theories, I don't think there's any new theories to bring up in regarding Thrawn, Balin, Shin, Sabine. Like, we were given nothing. So I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything new to go down that path other than the possibility of this interaction, this next fight between, I think there will be another fight between Ahsoka and Baylan. I think it's coming for sure.
Oh,
And I think
Ahsoka's got to win it, right? Or at least some way, a moral victory.
maybe, yeah, or at least like dominate in some way because now she's different. So I think some of that's coming. I think some of the speculation that has been clearly shown to be false. Like
Yeah.
I've said things that are just not going to happen, which is fine. It's the way it goes. And
sure.
if anyone's taken me too seriously on that, I'm like, oh well, sorry. Like I'm
Well,
not
I
taking
made the
myself that
Merrick is
seriously.
confirmed as Ezra video, so we've
Well,
all been there, bro.
I made the here's the proof that it's the not Anakin video, and I had a few
Yeah.
people upset at that. I'm like, it's not proof. I'm like, I know, but if I say this could be the reason I think it's not
Yeah.
Anakin,
You gotta find a way to get them to click.
no one's gonna click on that dumb video title. So barely anyone clicked on the other one anyway, but is what it is, right? So yes, I'm still interested in speculation. Why? Because as soon as these 3 episodes are done, there's not, I mean, depending upon the cliffhanger, the speculation then adds, and then it's a freaking dry wasteland until 2026, right? Like with the SAG strike and everything else, like it's not like we're going to see any new content anytime soon. So I'm hoping they give us enough, because otherwise then it's going to be a lot of going back into the old lore and whatnot. Jim says, what happens first? Morgan kills someone or Morgan dies?
I say Morgan dies.
Yeah, I think.
She's honestly not that interesting of a character to me. I could see her totally like Shin just killing her, and then that starts like some conflict.
She turns into green mist.
Everyone's just turning into green dust.
What's going on? Yeah, so I do think it could be by the hands of Shin. I think there is definitely some kind of tension there. I think, though, I'll pull back though. Maybe there's a scenario where Thrawn has been using Morgan, and it's not this everything's all well in paradise. And so maybe it's a Thrawn alliancing with Baylan and giving Morgan the boot. That could be interesting. Because we've seen Thrawn in Legends and other stuff see and want to use and leverage the power of Jedi, or dark Jedi and the clone of Jorah Sabaoth in the writings. So I think that could be interesting, that if he has to choose between Baylan and Morgan, I think he's going to choose Baylan, as would I, because Baylan is freaking awesome.
Baylan is boss. I need to make those shirts.
Done. I'll work on that tonight. Yeah. So, but yeah, there's less speculation for sure, because we didn't get a ton to go off of. I've got some ideas of videos to make, but I don't have time this week, unfortunately. So, we'll see. I'm sad that we're coming to the end, because what that means then is, then it'll be quickly no more speculation. So
yeah, man. Like, and yeah, what you're talking about with like the strikes and everything, we're about to enter into a very long lull of like zero content. Like maybe announcements, which will keep things going, and trailers eventually.
Yeah, but so for full transparency on this channel, like I've done some of the like, here's the news videos, and I don't know about you guys on the channel, I'm not quite as interested in that stuff. And I find far more like, so for example, I still have, and I've written a script, I haven't shot it yet. My video on why I think Andor can save Star Wars. And I've got, that's probably going to be like
Dave Filoni already did, right? That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah. Well, now after Ahsoka, I can come back maybe and say it didn't. I don't know. I've got some other lore videos, but I'm not interested in the hey, here's the Star Wars news speculation of the day.
Right.
I heard so and so actor is cast for like whatever. You go get that.
I'll cover
else.
that.
Yeah, you take that. So we'll see. I will say I love having hope. I love having hope in the Star Wars universe. I will show. I had a pretty hard week because I'm a Jets fan. I know what it is to not have hope, and I'm back not having hope. So if we could just have a whole nother season of Ahsoka just released right after this, that would be great. So I don't have to go watch football. But yeah, I'm excited. I still like the theories, and I think as long as I can still have fun, I'm enjoying it. I worry it'll dry up, or I'll have to do what every other YouTube channel does, which is come up with something about Star Wars when there's no Star Wars news, and we can just all be bad at Disney. But Jar Jar's a Sith. Get out of here. Get out of here.
What's wrong with you people?
Nice. All right, I'm just going to say it. All right, here's what's going to happen next episode. We open right to Ahsoka and Huyang playing cards at the table, waiting for the whale to get to his place. And they hear just a on the ship door. Ezra's been inside the whale the whole time. Your face.
Oh Lord. Well, so are they playing Sabak, or are they playing what cards are they playing?
Yeah, Sabak. I couldn't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
I don't have a
There
Star
you go.
Wars channel.
Yeah. Ezra's in the whale. Oh my goodness. Hey, he's freaking Jonah out here in the belly of the fish for 3 days and 3 nights.
Just a really long beard.
Yeah.
Just like, can I please come in there and use the shower?
So JB is a Jets fan as well, and he says, "Oh, speaking of which, Aaron Rodgers is a Star Wars nerd apparently, and his favorite theory is that Jar Jar is a Sith. Well, then he's not that big of a Star Wars. No, just whatever. I don't want to. My wife keeps showing me all the Aaron Rodgers memes,
I'm
like, stop it. This literally is painful. Leave me alone. I want to go watch Ahsoka.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, it is what it is. This is why we don't have nice things in New York. But
also, Huyang at the beginning was great. Like David Tennant being like, I told them to stick together. That was probably the most emotion I've like felt from a droid in the Star Wars universe. Like I just thought that was like a really, really sweet moment.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think there's some great moments. I think your criticism of the mystery is fair. It doesn't drive me to be upset about the episode. But I also think that depending upon where these next 3 go, like it still could be screwed up. The fumble could still happen at the goal line. But I think that the story is set up. I just wish we had gotten this set up 2 episodes ago is all. So,
yeah.
But yeah, guys, let us know down below, what do you want me to talk about? Or we can bring Dean on here again, and we're going to keep doing this till Ahsoka's gone, or maybe even after, because this is fun. I enjoy talking this stuff, though. We'll just sit here and go, well, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. Nothing to talk about. So make sure you do all this stuff. Hit that like button and share this if you thought this was a good time. We'll be back again next week, Wednesday, around that time sometime, maybe 10 o'clock, maybe 9:45. Turn on that bell for notifications so you don't miss it. We'll catch you on the next one. Remember, the Force will be with you always. Bye.